worst Star Wars movie of all time. If you're watching this and you're going to say, The Force Awakens is worse, keep your crack and drugs out of my sight, please. Because you don't know the definition of an awful movie. So anyways, even after The Phantom Menace, we are still bombarded with nonsense and stupid shit about politics that the movie just expects us to emotionally invest in and understand easily. Other than that, it once again mainly exists as a purpose to show off video game CGI orgies. You know, George, if you made the prequels just to entertain kids, you should have known that kids also don't give a shit about politics behind the war, or how the war came to be. And most importantly, Anakin burning in flames isn't for kids. Neither is him killing kids, nor have a decapitation of Jango Fett, which is my guess of why you put that death stick scene in the movie. Are death sticks cigarettes or something? Did Obi-Wan refuse to buy death sticks for the sole purpose of teaching kids not to smoke? Then what was the point of showing all the other over-the-top violent stuff I mentioned earlier? Well, Anakin killing kids wasn't shown, but it was about to happen, to be fair.
I will talk with her. Senator Amidala will not refuse an executive order. I never well enough to assure you of that.
Thank you, Your Excellency.
And so, they've finally given you an assignment. Your patience has paid off.
You've got to be fucking shitting me. Who prefers this shit over The Force Awakens? You gotta be out of your mind to prefer this kind of dog crap over The Force Awakens or the original trilogy.
Give immediately emergency powers to the Supreme Chancellor.
Seriously, the worst character in Star Wars in history is responsible for power given to the Emperor. The worst character in Star Wars is responsible for the shit in the Galactic Civil War. Funny how George Lucas probably listened to the audience complain about how we didn't need Jar Jar in The Phantom Menace. Now he tries to make it up by scripting Jar Jar to give the Emperor emergency powers. How fucking convenient. Not a single one of you can give me a good excuse not to dislike this piece of shit. Both the movie and the character. And now we have Anakin. Why can't he just tell Obi-Wan this if he's so worried about his mom? Hey, Obi-Wan, my mom's in terrible danger. I sense it. Maybe I can go to Tatooine with Padme and protect her there while I try to save my mom, but nope. We have to deal with this just really over-the-top chase. Was I supposed to shit myself? And how exactly did that not give Padme scars?
Use your feelings, you bastard. Yep.
Seriously? Kids with lightsabers? Before they are even potty trained? All this shit is what made lightsabers not fun to watch. What made the lightsaber so fun, it was mainly used only when confronting the villain. It was used sparingly in the original trilogy, and even The Force Awakens. The extra special moments. I'm not going to go into too much detail of now, as I'll save the whole discussion later in this review. On to the romance of Anakin and Padme. As for most people, it does not work for a lot of people, including me. It's really forced. Sorry, but if someone told me they supported fascist dictatorship, went on a psychopathic rant, admitted he or she committed mass murder, which I'll get to later, behaved like a whiny bitch, I wouldn't really be turned on. But Padme still loves him after all that shit? Padme still thinks Anakin is the man for her? What am I supposed to be emotionally engaged in? Then again, to be fair, I kind of understand what they were going for when they scripted Anakin to be supportive of fascist dictatorship, considering that foreshadows Darth Vader. Even then, this is not a good romance at all.
What we do. The trouble is that people don't always agree.
Well, then they should be made to.
By whom? Who's gonna make them?
I don't know. Someone.
You?
Of course not me.
But someone.
Someone wise.
Sounds an awful lot like a dictatorship to me.
I don't like sand. It's coarse and rough and irritating, and it gets everywhere.
Am I supposed to be inspired? If yes, then you fail worse than Design the Skyline trying to be a good band. What the hell is with that shit in the Star Wars movie? Not a single one of you can convince me The Force Awakens is worse than this. And this is even a worse romance than Twilight. I'm not saying romance in Star Wars is a bad thing at all. There was no fun dialogue between Anakin and Padme. I guess you could say the Fields of Naboo scene was cute, but this is a Star Wars movie. We should have seen the Separatists chase after Anakin and Padme, trying to succeed in assassinating Padme. I mean, in A New Hope, the Empire chased after the Rebellion to get back the stolen Death Star plans, and the First Order on Jakku chased after Rey, Finn, and BB-8 to get the map to Luke Skywalker. Well, then again, Luke Skywalker in A New Hope wasn't a part of the Rebellion, but the point still stands. Now on the topic of romance, there was absolutely no scene that's like, I love you, I know moment. There was no, if he comes back, I won't get in the way. It's not like that at all. He's my brother moment. You know, scenes that warm my heart. Lines in the movie that are absolutely memorable. This movie really doesn't have a lot of heart at all. Clone Army is a cool idea, I will admit. I mean, you must have saw it coming considering it was called the Clone Wars, right? But did they all really have to be CG? Was George Lucas really trying to impress us with video game graphics? A lot of these characters, once again, just like the Phantom Menace, are really boring as hell and seem dead inside, and sound like they just want to kill themselves. With idiots with robot voices, no less. Sorry, I was having a lapse when ranting. Well, reviewing, rather. Same thing, whatever. Putting the ever-so mind-blowing CGI effects before good storytelling is what sucks all the humanity and emotion out of these characters. Assumably, because these actors don't even know what the hell they're seeing or doing in these scenes, which is why they look bored out of their minds a lot in these scenes. This is what I call milking the franchise, considering it solely exists to try to impress us with CGI orgies, and we basically already knew about the backstory of Anakin that was revealed to us throughout the entire original trilogy, and then raping the original trilogy with shitty special editions filled with worthless CGI that didn't even need to be there in the first place. Never mind fun characters, never mind fun storytelling, never mind consistent pacing of a movie, never mind the heart and soul of a movie, it's all about the money and CGI effects. The practical effects settings, however, I will admit are wicked cool. Practical effects always destroy CG, and CG should only be there when it needs to be. Remember when Obi-Wan said this in A New Hope? He was the best star pilot in the galaxy, and a cunning warrior, and he was a good friend. Nope, instead in Attack of the Clones, Anakin is a whiny brat blaming Obi-Wan for his problems when Obi-Wan told him he was just being arrogant. He wasn't doing anything else bad to him.
It's all Obi-Wan's fault. He's jealous. He's holding me back.
Oh, there's the mass murdering he does, which I'll get to later once again. How in the actual fuck am I supposed to be emotionally engaged in incredibly cringe-worthy scenes in Attack of the Clones like these?
I'm in agony. The closer I get to you, the worse it gets. The thought of not being with you, I can't breathe. I'm haunted by the kiss that you should never have given me. My heart is beating, hoping that that kiss will not become a scar.
I don't like sand. It's coarse and rough and irritating, and it gets everywhere.
I almost fell. You'll get your chance alone. Oh, I'm scrapped. It's a nightmare. I want to go home. What did I do to deserve this?
Okay, enough of that awfulness. How in the fucking hell is any of that shit in a Star Wars movie? I don't get lost or invested in movies with that kind of shit. I laugh at how fucking stupid that shit is. That's the outcome of me. And once again, the most boring character is, of course, the most memorable lightsaber handler, just like Darth Maul in The Phantom Menace. George Lucas possibly knew he was going to be boring as hell, so he tries to fancy him up by giving this guy, you guessed it, a purple lightsaber. Who am I talking about? Mace Windu. I swear, it really does feel like George Lucas knows these characters are gonna be boring, so he comes up with crazy things to make them less boring and forgettable. This movie almost does nothing right, with only a select few things. It feels like 70% or 80% of the entire movie is walking and talking, sitting on couches, and talking boring-ass dialogue. Soundtrack and score is, of course, and always is amazing and memorable. And of course, the ships are always wicked cool looking, at least in some places. The sound effects are once again wicked haunting. The settings once again look great too. And I absolutely love the foreshadowing of the Empire at the end of the movie with the shots of the Republic fleet and clone army at the end. The love theme between Padme and Anakin is also beautiful too. But unfortunately, it's a complete and utter joke of a romance. We, by the way, should have seen the brutality of Anakin murdering the Sand People. Out of all the boring-ass scenes in Attack of the Clones, why did they have to cut this scene? Seriously? Again, no one fucking cares about politics or this horrible romance or these video game CGI effects that have absolutely no weight to it. We should have seen Anakin's brutality. We should have seen Anakin's brutality and most of all his Force abilities. We never even got to see any of his training. This easily translates to, hey, we suck at character developing, so you're just gonna have to take our word for everything that's put on screen. I mean, it was 10 years after the events of The Phantom Menace, and they really didn't do much with Anakin in Attack of the Clones, or with any characters at all in Attack of the Clones. They should have shown his Force abilities. shown what he was becoming.
What if I told you that the Republic was now under the control of the Dark Lord of the Sith?
No, that's not possible. The Jedi would be aware of it.
The dark side of the Force has clouded their vision, my friend. Hundreds of senators are now under the influence of a Sith Lord called Darth Sidious.
I don't believe you.
The Viceroy of the Trade Federation was once in league with this Darth Sidious.
How exactly could someone be so stupid to not realize that Palpatine is the Sith Lord? How could anyone at all through the entire prequel trilogy be so stupid to not realize he's the Sith Lord? Just like the Phantom Menace, there was really no frantic moments, well, other than the pod racing and the duel against Darth Maul in that film, but in Attack of the Clones the same cannot be said for Attack of the Clones. Other than, well, the fight between Jango and Obi-Wan wasn't really all that bad, though. But even then, there's really no clue given to us who we should root for and who we should root against. We never ever saw the threatening actions from the Separatists. And when we do get to the action parts of the movie, it's like you get diabetes from candy. Action and lightsabers in Star Wars is like cake, candy, and cookies. It's really awesome and great to have, but when you have cartoony, comical horseshit like this in the prequels...
It's a nightmare! I want to go home!
You'll get diabetes. This scene? And this scene? And this scene. And this duel. It's like you gained 600 pounds, well, 200 pounds, I wouldn't really go that far, from cake, candy, and cookies, and you don't want any more of it by now when you reach the end of the duel, or end of the movie. You don't give a fuck about any more of it. You leave unexcited. There is action in the original trilogy and The Force Awakens. I'm not engaged in the physicalness of it, or the visuals, but that was out of investment and motivation, and it was the emotions that gave them weight and more meaning to it. The Battle of Yavin was about saving the rebel base on Yavin and from the destruction of the Death Star, not to mention the destruction of the most deadly weapon was meant to restore and save the galaxy from terror known as the Empire. The assault on the Starkiller base was to prevent the First Order from not only destroying the Resistance, but also prevent the death of Luke Skywalker, aka The Last Jedi. But there's nothing to emotionally invest in with the lightsaber fight or fights at the end. We still don't have no idea who Count Dooku is. We don't know why he's evil or why we should be fearful of him, other than the fact that he's Christopher Lee, and Christopher Lee is awesome no matter what shitty movies he's in. We never see him do evil shit. We only see him duel against the Jedi and cut off Anakin's arm. I'll admit, Count Dooku is still a better written character than Darth Maul, though. I'll give him that. I already explained why Darth Vader was evil in the original trilogy and why Kylo Ren was evil in The Force Awakens. No need to repeat myself in the previous review.
Dooku! Shoot him down!
We're out of rockets, sir.
Surely you can't be serious.
I am serious. And don't call me Shirley.
You have turbo lasers on your gunship. You could shoot him down with those. Come to your senses.
Over the ship! I can't take Dooku alone! I need you!
So wait a minute, Obi-Wan. You can kill Darth Maul alone in The Phantom Menace. You can take on General Grievous, someone who has 4 arms and 4 lightsabers alone, but not Count Dooku? How about you come to your senses, Obi-Wan? I'm also gonna say this. The whole if you are feeling in love, that means you're going to the dark side, always makes my brain hurt. Unless if you're talking about someone being jealous of love, then I get it. But this is really not the case with Anakin. The prequels really do devalue the whole point and concept of Star Wars. It really doesn't feel like a gritty lifting universe in Attack of the Clones. In Attack of the Clones, you could have saw Obi-Wan and Anakin be best of friends, but nope, we never really see them being friends at all. How do they manage to fuck that up when we already have someone tell us about Anakin's character in just a few words in A New Hope? In fact, I doubt blaming your master for everything that's going on in your life is being friends. The Clone Wars 2D series tells a better backstory between Anakin and Obi-Wan than the first 2 prequels. Yes, and even Revenge of the Sith, and that's embarrassing to say. I never saw the Clone Wars 3D series, so I'm in no position to judge that show, by the way. In fact, those shows is what I call a good reboot of the prequels. Yes, a good reboot, mind you. This is not a negative thing I'm saying. The Clone Wars show, both the 2D and 3D series, is and was what the prequels should have been. Because it was about, get this, the Clone Wars. Not to mention the subtitle is false advertising. The clones didn't even attack until the last few minutes of the film. Attack of the Clones? Talk about false advertising. And as for the lightsabers, you could definitely argue that the Jedi were more common back then and not nearly extinct like they were in the originals. I guess you could say that the lightsaber usage was more justified. But with all the lightsaber scenes I showed earlier that made lightsabers boring as hell, man, that was unnecessary. The lightsaber fights are meaningless when you don't give a single shit about the characters, personalities, and dimensions, or the characters as a whole. Almost the entire movie was once again just like The Phantom Menace. Too much boring-ass dialogue, walking and talking, sitting on couch and talking, yada yada yada. And stupid shit about politics absolutely no one cares about. Once again, this is Star Wars, not Star Politics. It's not good pacing whatsoever. That should not even be in the Star Wars movie at all. In fact, if they didn't have those 2 fucking words in it, no one would ever remember it in the long run. No one would ever think twice about those 2 pieces of shit known as the first 2 prequels. Sure, the first 2 prequels are Star Wars in name, and have the Jedi, Sith, and character names in it, but if it was named something else, I guarantee you, it would have gotten much more worse reviews than it already did. Than it did in the past, I meant to say. Those 2 words is what saved it from having worse reviews than it did in the past. Or than it still gets today. There's barely anything good about it. It has no heart, no motivation, no investment, no substance, and almost absolutely nothing is memorable about it, other than the soundtrack. well, okay, almost nothing memorable. I don't ever consider the prequels in the Star Wars universe, well, except Revenge of the Sith in a way. I always pretend the prequels never ever happened, considering they devalue and contradict what happened in the original trilogy and the whole concept of Star Wars. Good filming doesn't mean endless and mindless explosions or over choreographed lightsaber battles. You need the audience to get emotionally connected to the characters. How am I supposed to take this shitty movie seriously when it can't even take itself seriously? I would take these scenes
No. I am your father.
No. It's not true. That's impossible!
Search your feelings. You know it to be true. Luke, you can
scenes like these any day.
It's a nightmare! I want to go home!
I don't like sand. It's coarse and rough and irritating, and it gets everywhere.
It's all Obi-Wan's fault. He's jealous. He's holding me back.
I'm now done reviewing this fucking joke of a Star Wars movie. Worst Star Wars movie of all fucking time. Thanks everyone for watching. And if you enjoy any other videos besides this one, you can subscribe to my channel. Space out. Keep it metal.